I saw the ghost of a woman in the mirror, and I don't think she's gone. I've been trying to ignore the weird things that have been happening in my house, but last night, something happened that I can't explain. I'm scared to even talk about it, but I need to write it down. Maybe someone could tell me what the hell is going on, because I don't know how much longer I can take it. I moved into this house a little over a year ago. It's a small, two-story place, built in the late 1800s. Nothing special, nothing to indicate that anything weird would be going on. But then, right after I moved in, I started noticing odd things. It started with the sound of footsteps at night. I thought it was just creaky floors or maybe the wind, but it always happened at the same time, around 2 a.m. Soft shuffling footsteps, like someone dragging their feet across the floor. It would wake me up every time. I'd get up, check the house, and nothing. Empty. It was always empty. But last night, I saw her. I was in my bathroom around 11 p.m., brushing my teeth before bed. The bathroom has this old, full-length mirror on the wall. Kinda weird, but it came with the place, so I left it there. I had just finished brushing when I caught a glimpse of something in the mirror. At first I thought it was just the reflection of the light behind me, but then I saw a figure standing behind me in the mirror. A woman. I froze, not daring to turn around. She was tall, wearing an old-fashioned dress, like something from the 1800s. Her hair was dark and tangled, and she was staring at me. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, and empty. I tried to turn around, but my body wouldn't move. I was completely paralyzed, staring at this woman in the mirror who wasn't in the room with me. The air felt thick, heavy, almost like I couldn't breathe. I just stood there, too scared to even blink. Then, she did something that sent chills down my spine. She started to smile. It wasn't a warm smile, not even close. It was a twisted, jagged grin, and she tilted her head like she was studying me. I finally snapped out of it. I turned around, but the room was empty. The mirror showed nothing but my reflection. I felt sick, my heart racing, and I ran out of the bathroom without even finishing brushing my teeth. I didn't go back in until this morning. But here's the thing. After I saw her last night, I've been hearing things again. More footsteps, more whispers, like someone standing just behind me. The worst part? Every time I pass that mirror now, I see her face in the reflection. Just for a split second. I don't know if it's my mind playing tricks on me, or if she's really there. I've tried covering the mirror with a blanket, but it doesn't help. It's like she's still there, watching, waiting. I don't know how much longer I can stay here. If you've ever had an experience like this, please tell me what I should do, because I'm pretty sure this isn't a haunted house anymore. This feels personal. And that was I Saw the Ghost of a Woman in the Mirror, and I Don't Think She's Gone by Lex Taliones. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if not. You're happy to butcher me in the comments otherwise. What I like about this is I always like the idea of an entity in a mirror, or just a haunted, creepy mirror in any kind of regard. It immediately makes me think of the 2013 film Oculus, which is it's got Karen Gillan in it and everything. It's this mirror that basically causes hallucinations, and it kind of causes a level of psychosis in people to kill each other and stuff. It's pretty great. I'm not going to spoil too much of it. Really worth a watch if you haven't seen it. If you like a good horror film, totally recommend it. It's done by Mike Flanagan, which you might know him because of he's done a couple of other horror films as well, but he's also quite famous for his Netflix horror series, Haunting of Hill House, and Midnight Mass, just to name a few. He's done quite a few others as well. But yeah, honestly, really good. What I like about this story is it's not crazy long, which is always nice, especially for making a video on. But it's got enough interesting little detail. It's got a little bit of a mystery to it, which is nice, although it kind of makes it feel like basically somebody from the 1800s probably died in some mysterious circumstances and is somehow possessing this mirror in some way. Or I guess just their spirit is somehow latched inside it, perhaps, maybe in like a mirror world or something. We don't know. We don't know the full other aspects. I'm assuming it's just some kind of a ghostly person, because yet again, it kind of makes noises and everything like that. So maybe a poltergeist kind of a thing. Either way, it's probably the spirit of a person who hasn't passed on, right? Clearly, some horrific thing. They have things left to do in their life, etc., etc. And what else I think is good is that we don't know where this is exactly going to go, because yet again it kind of just ends, which I don't think that's a bad thing, because it then leads credence to the idea of a mystery, like, oh, what could happen next? What is the person going to be okay? Are they going to get rid of the mirror, for example? I think one of my favorite responses to this story actually is it's by the spider web, and it says, "Yeet that mirror and move." Quite right, my friend. Quite right. Sometimes that's all it takes, you know? And, if there is going to end up being a little bit more to the story, I'm not going to lie, I'm interested. So, Lex, keep us in the loop. I'll be really excited to see some more of this. Feels really good to come back to narrating little stories again like this, you know? I'm probably going to do not just no-sleep stories. I might delve into maybe cryptid ones as well. I might delve into other things as well. Maybe even Blue Sky. I might even look at Blue Sky stories, because Twitter's become a bit of a, let's just say, not fun place to be these days. So, yeah, obviously I'm still keeping an eye out for other cool stories to cover. But let me know. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know what other mirror-based movies, shows, maybe books, comics, and stuff that this makes you think of. I want to, really curious to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Nate at Night, and thanks again, Lex, for allowing us to read this story and share it with the world. Take care out there. The thing I could never see. The first time I noticed something was off, it was subtle. A faint chill lingered in the air, sharper than the season warranted. It was the kind of cold that clung to the skin, impossible to shake. I didn't think much of it at first. Winter was settling in, and I blamed the drafty old windows in my apartment. Then came the footsteps. Faint, but deliberate. They echoed behind me as I walked home late one night. I glanced over my shoulder and saw nothing. Just empty sidewalks washed in the amber glow of streetlights. A rational part of me dismissed it. The city was noisy. Sounds traveled. Maybe it was just someone walking the opposite direction a block over, their steps distorted by the alleys and tall buildings. But it happened again and again. It was on the third night that I began to feel the weight of it. The sound wasn't consistent, but it was there, always far enough to seem distant, but never absent. By the time I reached my apartment door, my chest was tight with unease. As I fumbled with my keys, I couldn't shake the sense that I was being watched. The sensation crawled over me, prickling the back of my neck. When I finally stepped inside, I bolted the door and checked every lock twice. I even slid a chair under the doorknob, though I laughed at myself for the gesture. Paranoia, I thought. Just paranoia. But that night, as I lay in bed, something woke me. A noise. Not loud, but deliberate. It was the soft creak of a floorboard. My heart pounded as I stared into the darkness of my room. The sound came again, closer this time, as if someone were shifting their weight just out of sight. I held my breath, straining to hear over the rush of blood in my ears, but the silence that followed was absolute. The next morning, I convinced myself it had been a dream. I went about my day, though the feeling of being watched clung to me like a shadow. At work, I found myself glancing over my shoulder, scanning faces in the crowd, searching for something, or someone, out of place. But no one stood out. Everyone seemed normal. Ordinary. That evening, I decided to test myself, to prove that I was imagining things. I took a longer route home, weaving through unfamiliar streets. I stopped abruptly in the middle of the sidewalk, pretending to check my phone, and listened. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, faint but undeniable, I heard it. Footsteps. They stopped when I did. I spun around, my heart hammering, but the street behind me was empty. The lights of passing cars flickered against brick walls and shop windows, but there was no one there. No one I could see. When I reached my building, my hands were shaking so badly I dropped my keys. I hurried inside and locked the door, pressing my back against it. My apartment felt different, smaller, darker. The shadows seemed deeper, the corners more oppressive. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floor, every groan of the pipes sent my nerves into overdrive. I sat in the living room with all the lights on, clutching a kitchen knife, waiting for... I wasn't sure what. Days turned into weeks. The presence, whatever it was, didn't leave. It stayed with me, hovering just out of reach, just out of sight. The footsteps became a constant companion. Sometimes they followed me home. Other times they seemed to come from within my apartment. I would find things out of place. A book moved from the shelf. a glass I hadn't used sitting on the counter. I started to question my sanity. Was I losing my mind? But no matter how much I doubted myself, the feeling of being watched never wavered. It was always there, a silent pressure, a weight I couldn't escape. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood in the middle of my living room, heart racing, and shouted, "Who's there? What do you want?" My voice echoed off the walls, but there was no answer, just silence. And then, as if in response, the faintest sound reached my ears. It wasn't a voice or a knock. It was breathing, slow, steady, and impossibly close. I froze, every nerve in my body screaming to run, but I couldn't move. The sound didn't stop. It lingered, filling the air around me. I turned slowly, my eyes darting around the room, but there was nothing there. Just empty space. Yet, I knew I wasn't alone. And that was The Thing I Could Never See by I'm Brudaku 2. What I loved about this little story is, yet again, it's a case of you kind of know what's going on, but you don't know the exact source of the problem, right? It's not just a mystery, but it's a mystery that can kill you. And it's great, right? So it immediately makes... It immediately makes me think of a few things. Number one is the movie It Follows. Now, it's not exactly the same as that. Because, see, in the movie It Follows from 2015, by the way, great horror film if you haven't seen it. I'm not going to spoil it too much here. Basically, our protagonist in that, she's forever followed by an entity that can kind of change its humanoid form, right? And she's the only one who can see it. Whoever has this curse is the only one who can see this thing, which is always coming towards the person, the protagonist, the one with the curse. And if it ever reaches them, it will kill them, right? Now, you can evade it. You can evade it as much as you want, because it only walks. It's quite slow, but it's relentless. Like, it will do every single second of every waking moment. It is walking towards you to kill you, which is really cool. And it made me think of that because, yet again, it's like something is following the person, right? The protagonist, however you want to define them. And, you don't know what's going to happen until you know what's going to happen. The only reason I say that is because in It Follows, you know what's going to happen because it's kind of told, and it's like a whole thing. Yet again, go watch it if you haven't seen it. Really great. But in this case, they are being followed by something, which seems to be able to get really close to them, but it's not quite gonna... We don't know exactly what's going on. Maybe like a level of possession or something like that. We're not really sure. Maybe poltergeist activity. It's hard to say because it also follows them outside the home. I don't know. It's definitely like a spirit has attached themselves to the person. That is what I believe anyway. It also makes me think of a horror game that I played recently, which is called Pretend It's Not There, which is really cool because basically it's kind of the opposite of this, where in this story the person wants to know what's following them. In Pretend It's Not There, you do everything you can to pretend it's not there, and it's visible. It's very visible, and it very much follows you everywhere you go. And so long as you don't look at it, it will not harm you. You have to just literally pretend this exists, this isn't there. It's quite a cool little indie horror game. I'll pop a link in the description below if you want to see that my little gameplay of that. I thought it was pretty fun. It's anyway, getting back to the story. So I like the fact that there's a fair bit of detail. There's not a crazy amount of detail, so we don't know anything really characteristic-wise what this entity is that's attached to our protagonist. But I like the fact that, yet again, it's kind of left on a cliffhanger. You don't exactly know what is going to end up happening. All you know is that they have made a level of contact with it, which is a little bit more horrifying, if you really ask me. The fact that you've kind of proven that you are indeed being followed by something, and it's a lot closer than you think. I don't know about you. I do not want to be in any kind of a room, not knowing what is there, but knowing that it can breathe by my ear. That sounds horrifying. Don't like that at all. It's a great little story, though. Really, really enjoyed this one, and I'm really glad I'm Brudaku allowed us to read this one and share it with everybody. I've really enjoyed it. Definitely go give it an upvote on Reddit if you can. There's obviously a link in the description below if you want to read it yourself, for example. Well, I've been Nate at Night, and I really enjoyed reading this story. I sure hope you've enjoyed it too, and we'll catch you for whatever's next. Take care out there. The eyes in the dark. It all started when I was 14. My parents rented a cottage deep in the woods by a forgotten lake. The place felt ancient, musty, creaky, like the air had been trapped in it for decades. The living room had this massive floor-to-ceiling window that looked out into nothing but thick, suffocating woods. The kind where every crack of a branch sounded like something was stalking me. I remember hoping I could sleep, that maybe for once I could get some rest. But sleep had other plans. That's when it started. The paralysis. The kind where you wake up, but you can't move, can't scream, can't do anything except lie there in a frozen panic. The room felt wrong. Heavy, pressing down on me like the air itself was alive, suffocating me. It was freezing, but my skin felt too hot, my heart racing like it might explode, but no sound escaped. The silence was overwhelming, thick enough to drown in. Then I saw it. At first, it was just a shadow, a blur at the corner of my eye. But then it moved. It shifted, impossibly tall, stretching and folding into itself like it didn't belong in this world. The darkness around it bent and warped, like it was pulling the light away. And those eyes. They weren't like any eyes I've ever seen. They were just two dots of light, suffocating, pressing in on me. Not glowing, not shining, just cold, hard, bright dots, burning through the darkness, drilling into me. I couldn't look away. No matter where I turned, they were there. They weren't just watching me, they were inside me, pulling at my thoughts, my fears. My heart pounded in my ears, but it felt like the sound was swallowed by the suffocating quiet. I tried to scream, tried to move, but my body wouldn't listen. It wouldn't let me do anything but lie there, trapped. The longer I stayed frozen, the closer it came. The air felt thinner, harder to breathe. Every time I looked through half-closed eyelids, it was closer. Its presence pressing in, filling the room until it was all I could feel. Its face, or what might have been a face, was inches from mine. Its gaze relentless, burning, pulling at my soul. How long I lay there, I don't know. But eventually the paralysis lifted, and I bolted to my mom's room. I didn't leave her side until daylight chased it away. But that was only the beginning. It came back every year, always at the end of summer. Every time the air turned heavy, thick with the chill of autumn creeping in, it would return. Same presence, same suffocating weight pressing on my chest. Sometimes it was just a shape in the corner. Sometimes it was solid, looming above me, blacker than the shadows. Its eyes, those suffocating, burning dots, never leaving me. And no matter where I went, no matter how far I ran, it found me. Every house, every city, it didn't matter. The rooms would change, but it never did. It was always there, always watching, always waiting. I was always alone, bullied, an outcast. I found comfort in the quiet, in the empty spaces. But there was one thing I could count on: my dog. Black Doberman, loyal and strong. She was the only one who ever made me feel safe. That night, it came again. The air turned cold, and my dog froze. Her ears twitched, her eyes narrowing, and then came the growl. A low, primal sound that wasn't like anything I'd ever heard before. It wasn't just a warning. It was fear. She knew something was coming, something I couldn't see. I froze, too. And then it appeared. Blacker than black, impossibly dark, with those eyes. Those suffocating dots of light, burning through the dark. She growled again, desperate, but I couldn't move. I couldn't protect her. I couldn't protect myself. The thing hovered, its shape distorting the air, pressing down on me. I felt its weight, cold and heavy, squeezing the life out of me. My dog stayed frozen, her eyes locked on the stairs, watching, guarding. 2 weeks later, she was gone. We never figured out why, but I know she wasn't just guarding me. She was guarding us both from that thing. And I couldn't protect her. I couldn't save her. I thought maybe it was just a childhood nightmare. I thought maybe it had faded with age. But at 26, I was wrong. It came back, and this time, it was worse. It wasn't just in the corner anymore. It wasn't just watching. This time, it was above me, on the ceiling, watching, suffocating. And for the first time, I felt it. It wasn't just a presence, it was physical. It was pressing down on me, crushing my chest, suffocating me. Its eyes, those suffocating dots of light, still burned through the darkness. But now, I could feel the weight of them. They weren't just watching me anymore, they were pressing into me, pushing me closer to the edge. I know deep down that it will never stop. It will always be there, waiting, watching, lurking in the dark, waiting for the next time I close my eyes. And every time I do, I wonder, will I see it again? And that was The Eyes in the Dark by Marvin Misery. What I like about this is the concept of like sleep paralysis, demons, or even not demons. Just the whole idea of being sleep paralyzed is horrifying, especially when it's at that moment. I've had it maybe once or twice, not very often in my life, but it has happened where you're like awake enough, maybe not fully awake, but awake enough, even where you might think you might still be dreaming, or even when you are just enough awake, and you literally are paralyzed and you can't really move. You're still kind of breathing, but it's hard to kind of do anything. You're cognizant, you're like looking around, and it's a freaky experience because you're like, oh my god, it's what's going on, and it just can terrify you. And I think that totally makes sense. The only critique I'd have to say about this story is the word suffocating. Used a lot. Very, very overused. But that's okay. That's the only real critique I got. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. I really enjoyed the story. I really liked it because, yet again, the concept of, I think having a demon or some kind of a spirit, some kind of an entity, ghost, whatever, what have you, that kind of like brings on this paralysis. I think that's a far more terrifying concept. It makes me think of some of the other stories I've covered, such as the Don't Sleep in My Parents' study or basement attic thing. I'll pop links in the description, obviously, so you can check out some of these as well. There might be cards if I figure out how to do all that. Or the other one I had in mind is oh goodness, I just had it. Something is rearranging my furniture. All of that one doesn't really have sleep paralysis, but it has things that happen because they're asleep, which is great. Both are really interesting stories. I gotta say, I love being able to cover horror stories. I think it's just because a lot of them can be really creative and really out there. I know I'm going to be writing a couple myself, potentially even on no sleep, which would be great. Let me know your thoughts about that down below. Otherwise, go give Marvin Misery some love. He definitely deserves it. Very good little story. I don't know if I'm going to make like a little subreddit, like a little community or something like that, if I am going to continue making stories and stuff like that, in which case then I might invite other people in which case they can put their own stories in, and obviously there might be a thing about if you put it here, do you want me to cover it in a video? I think that'd be quite fun, quite cool. I've got other ideas in the pipeline. I haven't quite figured all that jazz out yet. But thank you so much for watching. This has been Nate at Night. I've had a wonderful time, and I sure hope you have too. Be sure to give some love and support to not just Marvin, but myself. And we will catch you next time. Take care out there. People don't die. They hide. When I was 10 years old, my brother came home to die on a frigid day in January. Purple lesions ravaged the skin that barely covered his bones. He looked an awful lot like a skeleton, unlike the friendly visitor I'd come to know from my short lifetime. My brother Tobias was many years older than me, so I didn't have much of a relationship with him. Still, he made a point to take the train home to New Haven for the holidays, filling our living room with plenty of gifts. One evening, he bought Mom the Fendi baguette she always wanted to show off to her friends at the Junior Women's Club. For my dad's gift, he purchased the George Foreman grill, and all his co-workers at the office buzzed about it. For me, he bought a creepy crawler's oven with liquided mold containers. The last time he came home, I was excited to show him all the bugs and monsters I made. "You better not," my mom said solemnly when I came home from school one day. My arms were filled with a new batch of miniature reptiles and amphibians I had created. They were a big hit at recess, and I knew Tobias would love them. "He's super tired, honey." "I thought they would cheer Toby up." She shook her head and sobbed, drawing a handkerchief to her face. "Honey, we talked about this. Toby is very sick. He won't be able to hear you now." My mom sobbed loudly as my dad slung an arm around her, directing her down the hallway. "Devin, your grandparents are in the living room. Why don't you join them?" These words caused my mom to weep even louder for some reason as my dad ushered her away. As they reached the living room, I heard the faint words of the live-in hospice nurse that it wouldn't be long now, and something about hearing the death rattle. When the sobs faded and the conversation died down, I turned the knob to his room as quietly as I could. Standing in the doorway, my heart fluttered. My brother not only looked like a skeleton with his frail exterior and dissolving skin, but like one of the gray aliens I made in my creepy crawler's oven a couple of weeks ago. Unlike the alien, however, he had several tubes attached to him that were hooked up to boxy, beeping machines. His body looked so thin that I swear it started to fade into the sheets of his bed. "Toby?" I said hoarsely. I waited a few minutes before I shouted his name. "Toby!" Minutes passed before his purple lips quivered and let out an audible groan that dragged on for several seconds. After the groan ended, 6 booming words escaped his lips. "Look for me on the walls." A longer groan ensued these words, followed by a long beep from the machine. Everything seemed to move in slow motion as the nurse, my parents, and grandparents rushed into the room. I don't remember much, except for shuffling feet, screams, and my father whisking me out of the room and closing the door in my face. The adults were in the room for several minutes before my grandmother finally left with her head cast down. She threw her doughy arms around me and said, "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Your brother's gone to heaven with the angels." As the other adults came out of the room one by one to hug me, apologize, and sob into my small body, I wondered if I should be crying too. I supposed I loved my brother, but I didn't know him well. To me, he was just that friendly visitor who bought me gifts and read me stories. He popped in and out of my life like some magical elf that appeared only for holidays and disappeared like Santa up the chimney or Frosty the Snowman on a sunny day. I put my hands over my eyes and pretended to cry with them. After a while, I asked if it was okay to go up to my room. My parents permitted me. At once, I hurried up the stairs and slammed the door behind me. For hours, I plopped onto my dinosaur bed sheets and stared at the walls. I stared at the walls for so long that I thought my eyes would bleed. The walls of my room were sponge-painted blue, covered in posters of my favorite baseball players and movies. The shapes on my walls were unmoving. As my eyes drew tears and I yawned, I started to drift off to sleep. My room didn't have any windows, so I couldn't tell whether it was nighttime or not. But I suppose night was nearing by the increasing shadows in the room. Something was strange about these shadows, though. They weren't the typical black or gray, but shades of green. I blinked as green circles danced around my walls like a stage spotlight. "Are you awake, Devi boy?" a hollow voice echoed. "It's time to wake up, Devi boy." I said, rubbing my eyes. Who are you?" "You know who, silly. I don't have much time." I blinked twice, and the green circles faded together. All at once, the circles morphed into the shape of a human. The shape looked a little under 6 feet tall, perhaps taller, its figure reaching the brim of the ceiling. "Toby? Toby, is that you?" "Who else, Devi boy?" The figure let out a bellowing laugh and stretched atop the ceiling, twisting around the fan in almost a rhythmic pattern. "I thought you were dead." The figure unleashed another bellowing laugh, this time twisting onto the carpeted floor, its green glow matching the soda I spilled the previous day. "I thought I would die too, Devi boy, but it's the most unusual thing. You don't go to heaven or hell like we learned in church. Don't tell Mom and Dad, though, especially not Grandma." "I won't," I said, scratching my head. "But Toby, if you're not dead, what are you?" "Hiding." The figure's voice changed from a bellowing pitch to a dull whisper. "What do you mean?" "You must swear not to tell anyone." "I swear, Toby, I swear." "People don't die," the figure whispered, draining from the carpets back to a small circle on my wall. "They hide." "From what?" "I don't know yet," the figure said, its voice now trembling. "I just know that we're hiding. We're all hiding." As the figure spoke these words, I saw dozens of green circles bouncing around my walls. They were varying shades of green. Some spoke in whispers, like my brother. Others spoke in gibberish that sounded like different languages. I shoved my thumbs into my ear canals as the sounds grew louder and more varied. I jammed my eyelids shut as the lights flickered and burned into my retinas. As I screamed, I heard my brother's voice once more. "People don't die. They hide, Debbie. They hide and must never be found." I screamed so loud that my cat Jasper hollered from the other room. I screamed so loud that my mom, dad, grandparents, and even the live-in nurse hurried upstairs and forced their way into my room. "It's okay, honey," my mom said, pulling me into her bosom. "It's okay, sweetheart. We're all so sad." As the others crowded around me, I continued to scream. Though the sounds had disappeared, I still heard my brother's voice loud and clear. People don't die. They hide. As the days faded into weeks and months, I saw the green circles everywhere, bouncing about the sides of buildings, circling the screens of the downtown movie theater, and even on the fence of my backyard. Sometimes the circles morphed into the shapes of humans. Other times they looked like mere reflections. One time during a sleepover, I swore I even saw the circles morph into the shape of falling bats on the outside of my tent. I tried not to scream when I saw them. After a while, I tried not to look. When I didn't look, however, I heard their whispers, which usually amounted to nothing but gibberish. As the months faded into years, I checked myself into therapy, the only chance I had to stop seeing the circles, to stop hearing the awful muffled voices. As a college student, my campus therapist surmised that the shapes and whispers were my way of coping with loss and grief. He assured me that people truly did die, and even took me to the local morgue, which his cousin owned, to show me what a corpse looked like. I admitted that I had never seen my brother's corpse when he died. Seeing the corpses of an old woman and a man as skinny as my brother made me realize how natural death was a part of life. I kept in touch with my therapist after college, and with each passing day, I began to hear the voices even less. For the first time in forever, I could appreciate the sounds of the outdoors that I had taken for granted, even the menial ones, like a gust of wind or a child screaming on the playground. For the first time in forever, I could appreciate the laughter of Julia, the girl I took on a first date at the local Starbucks. I love the sound of her laughter, the sounds of our laughter as we engaged in the silliest conversations. Throughout my life, I heard many wonderful sounds like church bells on my wedding day, or the sound of my son Jack crying in my arms. I fell in love with the lights and sounds of my life until the day I started to cough profusely. My wife had taken Jack to daycare as I sat in my home office, typing a draft of my latest article. I felt the urge to cough, a large, bulging urge rising from my chest. As much as I tried to ignore it, I finally unleashed the cough. A cough so powerful that I doubled over onto my desk, spilling blood onto the keyboard. I began to shiver as the blood dripped from my mouth and onto the keys and all over the floor. I scrambled to find my cell phone and dial 911 as I continued to convulse blood and cry. After I had emptied all the contents of blood from my stomach, I collapsed onto the floor with the receiver by my ear. 911, what's your emergency? 911. With what little strength I had left, I pushed my body across the floor to the phone. I threw up a lot of blood, I said weakly. I'm sorry about that, sir, the dispatcher said. Many moments passed before she spoke again. Hello, are you there? Sir, the dispatcher said, her voice suddenly a lot lower and more muffled. You better start thinking about a good place to hide. As the voice began to cackle, a swarm of green circles danced around my body. And that was People Don't Die, They Hide by The Glowwalkers. This story's awesome. And let me kind of delve in, because first off, it made me think of things like The Shining, because of like the whole... Let's not get too bogged down about bizarreness. I like the interesting details. Interesting placement of details, especially the fact it's like, oh, George Foreman grill, creepy crawler's oven, all these, yeah, they're great details, but these details make you question so much, right? Now, let me kind of explain. So, we understand that people don't die, they hide, right? That's the whole premise behind the story, and there's evidence of that. But there's also things that are not fully following that, right? So, let me kind of explain a bit further. So we know Toby dies, right? Or quote-unquote dies. But we don't know what happens to his body, right? I think we agree on that. We do know that he goes into a level of hiding. And we're aware that clearly even 911 is aware that you should hide, right? We don't know what from. We don't know why you're hiding, maybe just from people? But then why put themselves on any level of display to Devon? Why is Devon the only one being kind of shown these green circles, which can also sometimes morph into people in a way, or at least humanoid structures, right? Which is what makes me think of The Shining, with the fact that like only certain people can see the ghosts. That's like the Shining ability, right? And sort of similar vibes with that. I really enjoyed that aspect. But then there's the bodies in the morgue, right? And then clearly not everybody thinks you should hide. A lot of them are still led to believe that you die of natural causes. So, those who hide and don't die, do they leave behind a corpse? Let's go with the logic that they do. Let's say they do leave behind a corpse, in which case that all looks normal. But then maybe some part of them leaves the corpse, right? Especially God, spirit, soul, some manifestation of them, if you will, which allows them to become these somewhat greenish circles. What are they hiding from? Why is this a thing? I'm not sure. I'm very intrigued, though. Very intrigued. I thought the story was really good. I really, really enjoyed it. It made me think a lot. I really enjoyed that aspect. And, I thought that'd be the end of it. But there's a little update. I thought I'd read it for you here. I went back to the office today. I can't work from home anymore, knowing what's waiting for me. The boss encouraged me to take medical leave of absence, but I can't stand the thought. Even in my cubicle, I see the green circles and shadows. I swear one of them told me to hide somewhere two-dimensional. That's interesting, too. As long as I can hold on to my physical body, I don't think I have to do that. Maybe I'm buying time. I wonder what it's like when your consciousness splits into your shadow. We're getting into some like crazy physics topics and stuff like that. Talking about hide somewhere two-dimensional, but we are three-dimensional beings. How would we hide somewhere two-dimensional? We can't. We don't have that capability. We can't go... I mean, we could see two dimensions, but we can't physically go into two dimensions anymore. Or if we could, it wouldn't look the same. It's incredibly complex when it comes to that kind of concept. But the fact that one of them said hide somewhere two-dimensional, clearly that mentions how you become the circles or the shadows, because those are essentially two dimensions. They don't really have a third dimension of depth. They only have the two dimensions of just left and right, essentially. That's so interesting. What it's like when your consciousness splits into your shadow. I don't know. That is so very interesting. I'm so curious if this continues. I'm happy to keep an eye on it, especially if you guys want me to, because Loakas, this is crazy. This could be something crazy cool here. I'm really enjoying the thought. It makes me wonder what you had in mind. Maybe you can enlighten us a little bit. Maybe we'll have a little chit chat. I like the sound of that. I've been Nate at Night, and I've had a great time reading this one, and I sure hope you have too. We will see you for whatever's next. Take care out there. My car is eating me. I've been homeless for a little over a year now. Ruby, my 97 Honda Accord, has been my only constant through it all. When I lost my apartment, my job, and most of my friends, she was still there. She's old, yeah, and probably not worth much to anyone else, but to me, she's everything. She's the only thing keeping me off the streets, the only thing keeping me alive. I've grown attached to Ruby in ways I'd never thought possible. Maybe that sounds weird, but when you spend this much time with something, depending on it day in and day out, you start to feel like it's a part of you. Or maybe you're a part of it. But lately, I don't know how to explain it. Something's been happening. Something that doesn't feel right. It started small. At first I noticed faint impressions on my skin in the mornings. Patterns from the fabric of the seat. That made sense. I was sleeping in the driver's seat most nights, curled up in ways that can't be good for my body. But then the marks started getting deeper. Like, too deep. Not just surface level indentations, but grooves in my skin that didn't go away for hours. Then one morning, I woke up and realized I couldn't move my arm. It was stuck to the seat. Like, actually stuck. I tried pulling it free and it felt wrong. My skin didn't just lift off, it stretched. It was like peeling off a band-aid, except it wasn't adhesive, it was me. There was this awful, wet tearing sound as I yanked myself loose. My arm stung all day, and when I looked back at the seat, I saw this faint pink patch left behind. I told myself it was just friction. Heat, sweat, pressure. It had to be something like that. But it's been happening more and more. Every time I wake up, there's something new. A part of my leg fused to the upholstery. The side of my face stuck to the headrest. I've started keeping a bottle of water nearby just to pour over myself when it happens. The water seems to help loosen the bond, but it doesn't stop it from happening again. And it's not just the sticking. It's more than that. The other night, I noticed something strange about my left thigh. The skin felt thicker, rubbery. When I pressed into it, it didn't feel like flesh anymore. It felt like vinyl, like the seat beneath me. I've been wearing jeans most days, so I didn't even notice at first. But when I rolled up the fabric to look, I almost threw up. The skin on my thigh wasn't skin anymore. It was the same dull gray as Ruby's seats. The same texture, the same stitching. I sat there for hours, staring at it, rubbing at it, scratching until my nails broke the skin. But nothing changed. It didn't bleed, it didn't hurt. It was just there. Like it had always been a part of me. Every day, it's worse. I could feel Ruby on me, in me, even when I'm not touching her. When I'm out of the car or walking to a gas station for food or trying to find a quiet spot to park, I feel this pull. Like she's calling me back. Like I'm leaving something behind when I step away. A few days ago, I woke up and felt something pressing into my chest. When I sat up, I realized it wasn't just pressure. It was connected. The seatbelt had fused into my skin. I could see the faint outline of it stretching under my shirt, digging into me like roots. I tried to pull it free, but it wouldn't budge. I had to take a knife to it, cutting the belt where it met the buckle. And even then, I couldn't get the pieces out of me. They're still there now, buried beneath my skin. I don't know how to describe what's happening to me. My body doesn't feel like my body anymore. My joints ache in ways they shouldn't. My skin feels foreign, like it's hardening in places, softening in others. I can feel Ruby every time I move. This deep, stretching sensation. Like we're tethered together. I've stopped trying to sleep outside the car. The last time I did, my legs gave out the second I stepped onto the pavement. I felt like I was being torn in half, like parts of me were still inside Ruby, refusing to let go. I had to drag myself back into the seat. The moment I sat down, the pain vanished. I can't leave her. I don't mean that figuratively. I physically can't. Every time I try, my body fights me. My legs buckle, my chest tightens. Even thinking about leaving sends this wave of nausea through me, like I'm betraying something important. Something alive. I've started finding pieces of myself inside the car. Little patches of skin on the seats. Flecks of hair woven into the fabric. The steering wheel has this faint, oily sheen now. When I touch it, I feel something. Warmth. Pulsing, like it's alive too. I know what's happening. I just don't want to admit it. Ruby's eating me. She's breaking me down, piece by piece. Pulling me into her. I can feel her growing stronger every day. And I can feel myself disappearing. I'm scared. I don't know how much longer I have left before there's nothing left of me but a stain on the seat. But the truth is, part of me doesn't even care anymore. Because for the first time in my life, I don't feel alone. Ruby's taking care of me. In her own way. And as much as I hate to admit it, I don't think I could live without her. Or maybe I should say, I don't think she'll let me. And that was My Car Is Eating Me by Oost6. It could be UST6. I apologize. I don't know which way it's pronounced. So, I like this story. I like this story because it is a situation that people don't really think could ever happen, right? And I think that's like, is the mystery of the whole situation. Like, it makes you wonder, does every car have this capability? Is it just a matter of, like, time spent in a car? Obviously, that's crazy talk. Of course it is. But in the world of horror, I suppose anything's kind of possible, right? But then it makes you wonder, well, is the car sentient? Is it alive? Is it a conscious thing? Is it an unconscious? How does all this stuff work? Is something else making it happen? You know, your mind can race for a little while. Maybe not endlessly, but a little while, I would say. So I like the fact that obviously The conclusion at the end of it is that the car is eating him. It's not a weird fusion of sorts. It's not like he's being absorbed into the car and they're becoming, like, two things in one body. It sounds more like he's just being completely eaten, digested, which is horrific. It's far more horrifying than just being fused together with something, although I think that's horrifying in a different kind of way. I'll stop rambling about that. It's really good. It's really good. It's not a very long story. It's a great little read. I've really enjoyed reading it, and I appreciate the chance to read this. It also makes me think of, obviously, Maximum Overdrive by Stephen King. Fantastic film, but that doesn't really have people being digested by cars and vehicles and the truck, obviously. It's more like just the fact that they're alive and evil, ? But then that makes you think of, like, Decepticons, right? But not exactly the same. Some of you know what I'm talking about. But I'd say that the more closer thing that it really made me think of is in the show Aqua Teen Hunger Force. In season 11, there's this episode about a hairy bus. And anybody who goes inside the bus, they get digested. So I was like, well, that's, like, hilariously very similar. Except that bus is very sentient, it can talk and everything like that. It's got, like, a twin brother. It's goofy. It's really goofy. Very funny. In my opinion. I mean, to some people it might not be, but whatever. Yeah, so I've had a great time reading this one, and I sure hope you have enjoyed it too. Let me know down below your thoughts. Let me know if this makes you think of anything else. I'd really like to hear your opinions and your ideas, especially if it's things that I haven't seen or read and that I should be checking out. Thank you yet again, Oos6, for this opportunity, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye. I always trusted my inner voice, until it killed someone. They say only 30 to 50% of people have an inner monologue, that half the world walks around with nothing but silence in their skulls. Empty. Quiet. I pity them. My inner voice isn't just some background noise, it's everything. It's sharper than my instincts, smarter than my decisions. It's the reason I've gotten this far in life. The quiet ones? They're animals. Reacting, not thinking. Me? I'm a symphony. Always in motion, always calculating. I love it. I love me. That's what I was thinking as I tied up my skates that day. The rink was alive with noise. Blades scraping, laughter bouncing off the boards, cold air licking my skin. I was there with Hannah, this girl I'd been seeing for a few weeks. She was sweet, steady on her feet, better on the ice than me, but too kind to show it. My voice kept pace with every moment. Don't trip. Smile when she talks. Hold her hand, but let her lead the rhythm. It's like having a coach and a confidant rolled into one. Who needs God when you've got your own mind? And then it happened. A stray kid tore across the ice, cutting too close, and I stumbled to dodge it. My legs went out from under me, my head snapping against the frozen floor like a broken spring. For a moment, there was only impact, sharp and hot. Then, silence. Not just around me, but inside. When I came back to myself, Hannah was helping me to my feet, asking if I was okay. I nodded and the voice returned, but it wasn't the same. Get up, you useless prick, it said. I froze. My voice, didn't talk like that. It never had. It had always been calm, measured. Not this barking, snarling thing. I wanted to brush it off, blame the fall, but the words stuck to me like tar. I skated the rest of the evening in a fog, the voice muttering in the back of my skull. Cruel things. Ugly things. You're boring her. Say something or she'll leave. Not that it matters. She's out of your league anyway. When I argued back, it laughed. Not a kind laugh. A raw, raspy one. Over the next few days, the voice grew louder. It stopped offering advice and started barking orders. My body and brain felt like a house with a new tenant. A violent, unwelcome one. Standing in line at the deli, it whispered in my mind. Take the knife from the counter. Hold it. Feel its weight. While walking down the street, it suggested, push that man into traffic. See what happens. I didn't obey, but I couldn't ignore it. Every time I refused, it grew angrier. You're pathetic. A worm. A waste of flesh. I decided to see a doctor. Anna suggested it after I told her I'd been off since the fall. I didn't tell her about the voice, just enough to make it seem like I wasn't losing my mind. The voice hated the idea. You think they'll help you? You think pills or therapy will make me go away? I'm not going anywhere, you fucking idiot. I'm you. I kept the appointment. I had to. But on the day, as I walked to the clinic, The voice became relentless, screaming now, its words twisting in my head like jagged metal. "Turn around. Don't do this. If you walk in there, I'll make you pay." I pushed on, teeth gritted until I reached the street outside the office. I saw the doctor through the window, her waiting room calm and sterile. For a moment, I thought I'd made it, that I could finally get this thing out of me. Then the voice snapped. "If you won't listen, I'll find another way." Suddenly, my body wasn't mine. I felt my feet moving, my hands reaching. There was a man passing by, an older guy with a briefcase and a distracted look on his face. The voice roared. My hands latched onto his throat. His eyes went wide, bloodshot, panicked. I felt the cartilage in his neck shift under my grip, a primal sickening crunch. The body hit the pavement with a dull thud. For a moment, everything was still. And then the voice chuckled, low and satisfied. "Good boy. That's more like it." Sirens wailed in the distance. I didn't run. I couldn't. The voice wasn't worried. It whispered, soft and smug. "I told you. You can't get rid of me. Now we'll have plenty of time together. Just you, me, and a cage. Doesn't that sound cozy?" And that was I Always Trusted My Inner Voice Until It Killed Someone by Simon 1ill87. Editor Nathan here. So it's probably actually pronounced Simon O'Neill 187. Ya doofus. So the story's nice. It's really good. It immediately makes me think of the movie Split, even though that doesn't really have like one inner voice that kind of changes. Although I suppose it is kind of similar in a way because it's like a dissociative identity disorder is what I believe is goes on, especially in Split. And it feels like that's kind of happening here. It's almost like a new identity has formed, really, besides it's this horrible idea of that there's more than one person inside of you, right? And that at any moment they could perhaps take control, which I think is kind of where that real fear comes into play, right? Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of those people who does have an inner monologue. Now, I do know it's me. I know it's me doing the monologue. It's very obvious. I can hear my own voice. I can change the voice if I want. Sometimes I'll pretend to make it other characters that I've heard in like TV shows and stuff like that. I'm sure tons of us do it that have an inner monologue. And I usually use it to just kind of like, analyze situations, reinforce certain ideas in my head, and try to just analyze situations from a certain standpoint. And I've always found it to be really useful. I've never found it to be twisted and weird because I know it's me doing it, right? I'm very conscious that it is my own monologue that I am creating of my own. It's basically just like you're talking inside your head. Literally, that's it. For those of you who don't have it, which does make me super curious. Down in the comments below, let me know if you don't have an inner monologue. I'm very curious about that. Or if you do have an inner monologue, let me know what kind of do you give it a voice sometimes? Do you pretend you're talking with other people? It's really interesting, right? There's a lot of creativity that comes with it. I suppose it's part of the imagination aspect of that, and I've really enjoyed that myself. But yeah, getting back to the story. So what I like about this is that it's a weird development, right? So clearly it's like when they hit their head, that's when this change happened. But is it just like a part of them as further taking control, like it's further been unlocked because of this? I mean, I imagine maybe not concussion has happened, but something has happened in their brain because of this collision, this hit on the head. And it's just so interesting that this is what's come about it, and yet at the end, I mean, they're not even controlling their own body, right? So was it something laying dormant in him the entire time? Because it's not like I can't imagine it's a spirit or a ghost or something like that. It's just been hiding out in his body and now decided to make an appearance. That's just kind of weird, right? So it makes you think maybe there was a parasite in his head or something. Maybe it just needed a little bit of wiggling through. Maybe he's always had this ulterior personality that has now been able to be brought to the forefront because of this impact. I don't know. There's a lot of ideas behind it, a lot of theories. I think it's really interesting. I think it's really, really interesting. I really enjoyed the story. If there is going to be more of this, I would like to kind of see where it could go, but I would totally understand if it's just a one-off. I totally understand that. Sometimes that's the best way to have a story, if you ask me. I've really enjoyed this. I sure hope you have too. I've been Nate at Night. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'd really like to engage in conversation about these kind of things. And thanks again, Simon 1ill87, for this opportunity. we'll see you guys for whatever's next. Take care out there. A tree kept following me around. I first saw it when I was 8 years old. It was late in the afternoon and I was playing in the woods behind my grandmother's house. She lived in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by sprawling forests, and I hated every minute of my summer visits. She was a kind old lady, but always distant. Whenever I lazed around the house, she'd tell me, "Go outside and play." One cool day, I wandered farther than usual into the woods. I was throwing rocks at a bird when a rabbit darted past my view. I chased it, watching it dart and weave through the trees. The deeper I went, the quieter it got. The air felt heavy. So heavy it sat in my chest. The rabbit juked sharply and ran across a clearing, and that's when I saw it. It stood in the middle of the clearing, blackened and gnarled, like it had been struck by lightning but refused to fall. The bark was split and cracked, with strange knots that looked almost like faces if you stared too long. The branches twisted outward, like skeletal fingers clawing at the sky. A tree. I froze, unsure of why it scared me. It was just a tree, but something about it felt off. "Greg!" my grandmother's voice called out, startling me. "Come inside, it's getting dark." She had a trumpet for a voice, and I whipped my head around so fast it almost came off. I ran home. Just before I left the clearing, I turned to get one last look at the tree. It must have been a trick of the light, or maybe I was looking in the wrong place, but it was gone. I didn't tell anyone about it. What was I supposed to say? That a tree disappeared? Even as a kid, I knew how crazy that sounded. But after that day, I kept seeing it. Sometimes it was in the woods, sometimes in the fields, sometimes along the side of the road when my parents drove me home. It was never close, never in the same spot, but always the same tree, blackened, twisted, and impossible to forget. By the time I turned 12, I convinced myself it was a recurring dream, a trick in my mind. The sighting stopped as I got older. I'm 36 now, married, stable job, decent life. My wife, Ellen, says I overthink everything, and she's probably right. That's why I didn't tell her about the tree when it showed up again. I was walking to my car after work, the late shift at the hardware store. The parking lot was empty, except for the streetlights buzzing overhead. I left my lunchbox on the car's roof and opened the door. As I reached for it, I saw it, standing at the edge of the lot, partially obscured by shadows. My heart stopped. It looked exactly the same as it had 20 years ago. Twisted, charred, watching. I blinked and rubbed my eyes, and it was gone. For weeks I told myself it wasn't real. Work stress, lack of sleep, there had to be an explanation. But the appearances became more frequent. Not every day, not even every week, but enough to leave me on edge. Sometimes in the distance, other times much closer. One day I saw it outside the window of a cafe where Ellen and I were having breakfast. "What's wrong?" she asked, noticing the way I froze mid-bite. Nothing," I lied, forcing a smile. But it wasn't nothing. It followed me through the years. It was there on the day Ellen and I moved into our first house, standing at the edge of the yard as we unloaded boxes. It was there the night our son Sam was born. I spotted it in the hospital parking lot when I went outside for air. It was there at my father's funeral, a dark silhouette against the gray sky. I tried ignoring it, pretending it didn't exist. But the more I ignored it, the closer it seemed to get. One night, I broke down and told Ellen about it. "It's a tree," I said, pacing the living room. "I don't know how to explain it, but it's been following me my whole life." She stared at me for a long moment before sighing. "Greg, you've been under a lot of stress. Maybe you should talk to someone." "I'm not crazy," I snapped, louder than I meant to. "I didn't say you were," she said softly, her eyes full of concern. But I could tell she didn't believe me. I slept on the couch that night. One evening, I called my friend Sean to grab a few drinks. He was my oldest friend, the kind of guy who could make you laugh even when everything felt like it was falling apart. "Greg," he said, slurring slightly after a few too many. "You've been weird tonight. What's going on?" I debated whether to tell him, but the liquor loosened my tongue. "There's this tree," I began. "I know it sounds insane, but it's been following me since I was a kid." Sean laughed. "A tree? Like it's stalking you?" "I'm serious, Sean. I see it everywhere. It's real." "Alright, show me," he said, waving a hand. "It only appears sometimes, man. You don't understand." Sean laughed again. But when we turned the corner, we saw it standing under a streetlight. Sean stopped laughing. What the hell? Do you see it? I asked, my voice shaking. Yeah, he said slowly, taking a step forward. That's creepy. Don't go near it, I warned, but he didn't listen. He walked up to the tree, reaching out to touch its bark. As soon as his hand made contact, the air seemed to shift. The branches creaked, and Sean stumbled back, clutching his chest. Sean! I shouted, rushing to him. He didn't respond. He collapsed to the ground, eyes wide open, staring at nothing. I looked up at the tree. It hadn't moved, but I swear I felt it watching me. I moved my family across the country after that. I wanted to believe I could escape it, leave it behind. But it followed me. It always followed me. Years passed. Sam grew up, went to college. Ellen and I got older, slower. But every time I saw the tree, I felt like that kid in the clearing again. By the time I was in my 60s, it had stopped hiding. Stood outside my window every night, a silent reminder that it would never leave me. One cold autumn evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I walked outside and stood in front of it. The wind was still, the air sharp in my lungs. What do you want? I whispered. The branches creaked, but the tree didn't answer. I reached out, my hand trembling as I touched the bark. It was cold and rough, like stone. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a wave of memories flooded my mind. Every moment I'd seen the tree, every time I tried to forget it. And something else too. A presence, ancient and vast. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't kind. It simply was. It had been with me my whole life, not as a threat, but as a witness. A silent, unyielding shadow, tied to me in a way I couldn't explain. When I pulled my hand away, I felt an odd sense of peace. The tree didn't move, didn't follow me back inside. It just stood there, as it always had, watching, waiting. And for the first time, I let it. And that was A Tree Kept Following Me Around by Spiritual Pizza 1491. Wow, you've been alive a long time. So, I love this story because it immediately made me think of like an ent, right? Some kind of a tree entity, person, creature thing. But the story didn't go in that kind of direction that I thought it would. It was a little more... I can't really find the right word. It really surprised me, right? Because, so, for some reason, there's this tree, which, for some reason, maybe it's the only tree of its kind, that's potentially following the person. But then it makes you wonder if other trees follow other people, right? But let's not get too bogged down in certain details. Let's focus on this one tree, which looks like it's been struck by lightning. It's quite blackened and gnarled and crazy and creepy. Maybe like looking kind of like a dead tree in a way, right? Which I think is a great description. So it's a very unique looking tree compared to the trees around it. But has it followed somebody before? Right? Because they describe it as almost like a witness. Not really a good spirit, not really a bad spirit, just a spirit that watches. Can ents be voyeurs? That's kind of creepy. I don't really want to think about Treebeard watching me live my life. That's when you think of it like that, it doesn't sound good. But it is interesting. It's weird because... Well, I suppose then it makes you think of like other immortal creatures, right? Like vampires, for example, and how they outlive people around them. And I guess in a way they're witnessing life move on. But in this case, it's specifically attached to one person, which is a little more bizarre when it comes to that. Is it like picking a victim? Is it perhaps going to turn this person into a different tree? Perhaps? I don't know. I don't quite understand all the aspects of it. It does make this person seem insane, which is classic. It's very classic. I mean, I know if I felt like I was being followed by a tree for the majority of my life, I would probably also sound crazy too. I'd probably also take pictures and videos of it and, you know, kind of prove that it moves and stuff. I feel like I would delve a little bit further into it, you know? And I'd also probably try to, like, burn it down. I feel like I would try other things with it, right? It opens up an interesting potential. Which none of that really happened in here. It was just the fact that this guy noticed the tree was following him, and it made him feel like he was crazy, but he kept living his life regardless. Why did he kill his friend? That I found to be weird. but not him. Is that a choice? I don't know. It's another one of those stories that makes you raise questions, right? And I love that kind of thing. I love that kind of thing about a story. It's just something that should be thought-provoking. It should make you think, because the more you think about it, the more questions you have. And it might be frustrating not to have the answers, but at the same time, it can lead you down some very interesting rabbit holes of information, you know? And so for that reason, I've really enjoyed this story. Thank you so much, Spiritual Pizza, for this opportunity. This has been great. I've really enjoyed it, and I sure hope you guys at home have too. Let me know your thoughts down below, because I found this to be just strange. What do you think it is? What do you think it is? I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear your opinions. We will catch you next time. Bye-bye. I can hear people on the other side of my wall, and I don't know what to do. My name is Nathan, and there are people moving around on the other side of my bedroom wall, and I don't know what to do. It started a couple of weeks ago when I was laying in my bed trying to sleep when I heard something move around. It was small and barely audible, maybe a mouse or a cat or something. All the houses in my development have really thin walls, so it wasn't uncommon to hear things moving around outside, especially at night. It continued for a couple of minutes, and I didn't think much of it. Went to sleep soon after it stopped. I didn't hear anything for a day or two after that. The next time I heard something was at bedtime again. It was late, and by the time I got my bed out, my room is tiny, so I save on space with a folding mat I sleep on. I was ready to pass out. My eyes were heavy, and consciousness was failing. Just before I was out, I heard it for a second time. More shuffling. Again, I didn't really think too much of it, but I've always been a little paranoid, so I had to wait for it to stop before my body would let me sleep. This time was different. After a couple of minutes of shuffling, I heard a distinct thump, 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 thump. It sounded just like footsteps would coming from another room with hardwood flooring. This roused me because it came from the same wall as the last noise the day before. An external wall. There's nothing past that wall except for 30 feet of grass before you hit the neighbor's shed, and another 20 until the neighbor's house. What the heck? I muttered under my breath. Immediately after the words left my mouth, the noise stopped. I sat there staring at the wall with my heart pounding. A few minutes passed, which felt like an eternity to my poor heart. And nothing happened. No more noises. After my heart settled down, I felt a wave of embarrassment wash over me. How could there be footsteps in a room that didn't exist? It was late and I was exhausted. I must have been imagining things. Like when you're drifting asleep and imagine falling and jolt awake. Hell, it could have been someone banging on something in another house. It still bothered me, though. It sounded so close. It still bothered me the next morning, and I couldn't quite shake that feeling. So before I went to work, I went around the house to look over the area on the other side of my bedroom. You'll never believe what I found. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. After a couple of minutes of looking and some weird glances from dog walkers on the sidewalk out front, I couldn't help but laugh a little. You're losing it, Nate. I scolded myself with an embarrassed smile as I jumped in my car and drove to work. A few boring days later, while I was waiting for a delivery to take, I'm a pizza delivery guy, I recalled the odd events in the week earlier. Yet again, a sense of cringe hit me and I couldn't do anything but laugh at myself. I texted my girlfriend JJ and told her about it. She laughed with me and teased me about it. She told me I should even write a spooky story about it. I have no idea what direction to even take something like that. Maybe the footsteps are some sort of people from a parallel universe and the barrier between our universe and theirs is wearing thin on that spot. Or maybe you could make it like a psychosis thing or ghosts or... I hate stopping her when she's excited. I have no idea how to even write or format stories. Truth be told, I'm not even interested in writing. I'm just keeping this journal so I don't go completely stir-crazy in my own head. It's been 2 weeks since the first time I heard the noise, and JJ keeps bugging me to write a short story about them. She says it will be good for me to take up writing instead of just going to work and gaming when I get home. You need to get out of your shell. I know you don't like people, so I'm not going to drag you out of the house. But you need to do something else to exercise that brain of yours. She's always looking out for me, wanting me to be the best version of myself I can be. It's annoying, but she's got a point, and I can't help but want to do better for her. Tomorrow, I'll try writing something, but don't be disappointed when it doesn't turn out any good. I texted her. I would have paid good money to see how thrilled she was, but I couldn't help but smile when her flood of excited texts came streaming in on my phone. I wasn't nearly as excited as she was, but that was a problem for tomorrow. I still have my games tonight. I got my bed out and put on some soft white noise, a recommendation from JJ. I was thinking about the story I'd reluctantly agreed to write. Where do I start? Where do I take it? I could make it a ghost story. I've always liked those. But I live in a new development, and to my knowledge, this wasn't some sort of ancient Indian burial ground. I guess I didn't need to make it about my house in particular. Ghost stories are getting kind of stale. I don't know. That's tomorrow's dilemma. I should get some sleep. I laid there, eyes sealed shut, trying to stop thinking about the story and its possibilities and just sleep. Just as I turned over and got comfortable, I heard it again. A booming thud, followed by 2 distinct sets of footsteps. I was already up, crouched low and eyes locked on the bare wall. This was real. I wasn't crazy. The footsteps sounded like they were about 15 feet away and they were getting closer. They were approaching the wall. I tried to stand and run, but my legs were jelly. 10 feet away. In a desperate panic, I grabbed the knife off my dinner plate and clutched as tight as a rock climber gripped their cliffside in a thunderstorm. 5 feet. My whole body was shaking. My knuckles were white as marble around the hilt of the knife. A couple of feet. The only thing between them and I was a paper-thin wall that the builders cut corners on. Silence. There was no sound except for my heart exploding in my ears. Minutes, hours, days could have passed in that silence, and I wouldn't have known. Finally, with a shock to my senses, there was a deafening scratching noise. In a brief second of terror, I thought they were scratching through the wall, until the noise started getting quieter, smaller. They were dragging something away from the wall, like 2 kids dragging the dining table across the room. After a couple of minutes of this, the noises disappeared into the silent night, and I was left there staring at the wall until the sun came up. There are people making noises on the other side of my wall, and I don't know what to do. And that was I Can Hear People on the Other Side of My Wall, and I Don't Know What to Do by Bull the Teddy Bear. So I picked this story for a number of reasons, and I think one of the first ones was because the first line says, "My name is Nathan," and I was like, well, I've got to read it. If it's got my name in it, I feel like I have to read it, right? Like, I have to. And then, obviously, I did. And I realized, this is actually quite an interesting story, because it's another one of those situations of fear of the unknown, like, why? What's going on? How is it exactly working? Is it an entity? Is it a ghost? Is it some other supernatural forces at play? You know, it's great. It's interesting. There's also a lot of parallels to my life, which kind of spooks me a little bit, because I too used to only work, come home, play video games, and have a supporting partner. Anyway, that's irrelevant. What does matter here is, let's kind of talk a little bit about this story. So my first thoughts is it makes me think of House of Leaves, which, for those of you who don't know what House of Leaves is, it's a super trippy, crazy story. It's a great book. It's told from, I think, 3 different perspectives, actually, or maybe 4. I think it's kind of 4 different perspectives, and it's bizarre. It's weird, and one of the stories is mainly about this space that's found, where they find out that their house measurements on the inside are bigger than the house measurements on the outside. Essentially, it's saying that their house is bigger on the inside, which sounds like a whole Doctor Who thing, which is really funny. But it turns out they have like an extra bizarro space, if you want to call it. It makes you think of like a liminal space, kind of a backroomsy type thing. And basically, there's like a door that appears out of nowhere that the husband goes and investigates, and it's like a spooky realm. And he basically tries to measure out the place and figure out what's going on, and it's like endless. It keeps going. I think it's a staircase at one point. It's really hard to see, and it's creepy. It's great. It's awesome. And this makes me think of that because, yet again, it's not visible from the outside, right? And so I think that's kind of what's going on here a little bit. It's almost like there is a different, maybe reality or dimensional space or something like that. I don't know exactly what he's going for with the story, but it sounds like there is some alternate space that can only be accessed maybe from his insides. It's inside the apartment. And it could be true, might not be true. Maybe there's something else going on. But the fact that he's hearing what sounds like somebody running and sometimes like dragging things on hardwood floor in an area that should only be grassy is weird. It's interesting. It's strange. I love it. And unless he's got like a borrowers type situation, which I still don't think they can make those kind of noises, I don't think that's what's going on. Could there be things inside his walls? It's very possible, absolutely. I think we shouldn't rule anything out. It's so intriguing. It's so intriguing, and I want to know more. I want to know more. I want to know what else is going on. Are his neighbors playing a prank on him, maybe? It's hard to say. So, if you want my opinion, if there's going to be a continuation of this character, he needs 2 cameras. He needs one inside, right? Obviously facing the wall, but with audio and video, and outside, but potentially with night vision on the outside one, facing that wall as well, but probably for a bit more of a wide angle as well, just in case there's other things going on, creepy crawlies in the yard or something. Who knows? I sure don't. You might have a raid going on or something. We don't know. I'm just saying. You never know. Gotta be careful in these situations. I really like this story. I really like the story a lot, and I would really like to see if Nathan carries it on. I know it says Bull the teddy bear, but in our chat he told me he's Nathan, which is really funny. A tale of 3 Nathans. How about that? I've really enjoyed the story. I sure hope you have too. Thank you so much for watching / listening, and we'll see you for whatever's next. Let me know down below what you thought, what you are thinking, and what you'd like me to read next. Bye-bye. I think I found my missing big brother, caged in a creepy zoo. My big brother had been missing for a year. It all started when he went out of town for a job interview. He kept in touch through our family chat room on his way there, right up until he sat in the company's waiting room. "They're calling my name. Wish me luck." That was his last message. Nothing has been heard from him since. We called his number. It rang, but no one answered. We checked his social media, but there were no updates for a year. My brother Eric vanished into thin air. A job interview out of town didn't sound alarming. None of us, Mom, Dad, or I, bothered to ask which town or company he was heading to. We'll ask when he gets the job, we thought. It took me a year to gather the courage to go through his belongings. That's when I finally pieced together his destination. Callisto, a small town 2 hours west of our parents' house. Callisto was tiny compared to our city. After a year, the odds of finding a trace of him were slim, but I just couldn't let it go. I had to try. So, I went to Callisto. The town was quaint, with barely a skyscraper in sight. As I drove around, I tried to imagine what company a civil engineering graduate like my brother might have been interviewing with. There were a few likely places, but it wasn't as if I could just walk in and ask if they remembered him. It had been a year. While driving aimlessly, I passed a zoo. It was surprisingly large for a town of this size. Then I noticed the name engraved on its curved gate. Empty Zoo. Weird, I thought. Who names a zoo empty? Something clicked in my memory. I remembered I saw something when I looked through all Eric's work stuff. I pulled out a folder where my brother kept all his documents related to the companies he'd had interviews with. There was a piece of paper, the size of a business card. One word was written in large, all capital letters on one side. Empty. I flipped the paper to check the other side. Blank. Empty. Weird. Did Eric have an interview at a zoo called Empty? Curiosity got the better of me and I parked the car. The ticketing booth was deserted and the gate was unlocked. I wasn't trying to trespass, but something about this place called to me. The zoo was eerie. Every cage I saw housed only one kind of animal. Monkeys. Dozens of them, but no other species. What kind of zoo has only monkeys? I muttered under my breath. The monkeys noticed me and became agitated. They reached out, waving their hands inward as if pleading for help. Weird and creepy. Then I passed one cage, and a particular monkey caught my attention. Unlike the others, this one monkey appeared to be more hysterical than the rest. It reached its hand out of the cage, but I noticed something odd. Instead of waving in like the others, this one monkey's hand was waving out, as if urging me to leave. That's when I saw it. It felt completely inappropriate, but for some reason, I felt like there was a similarity between that monkey and my lost brother, Eric. I took a closer look. The monkey had something that looked like a birthmark on its left cheek. Brown, butterfly-shaped. It was huge, almost covering its entire left cheek. Weirdly enough, my brother had exactly the same birthmark. Brown, butterfly-shaped, covering his left cheek. I froze. The monkey grew more frantic. Its hand kept waving outward, even more vigorously than before. I backed away, my heart pounding. The creepy and eerie feeling was strong, so I immediately turned around and bolted out of the zoo. It was already dark, so I had to find a hotel to stay for the night. That night, I wrote about my experience on my personal blog. Within an hour, when I checked it back, there were 56 comments. Never in my life had I gotten 56 comments on my blog in an hour. Every single comment shared the same story. They had their family, wives, husbands, friends, colleagues, whatever, leave town to attend a job interview, and then went missing. 32 of them were trying to look for their missing relatives, visiting the said town, all in 32 different towns, and happened to encounter a zoo with the same name, Empty. A zoo with the same weird name, displaying only monkeys. And there are monkeys that, for some reason, somehow appeared to resemble their missing relatives. This is truly horrifying. I couldn't get ahead of it, so I was thinking of returning to the zoo just a few hours later to investigate further. I had a strong urge to find my missing brother. So I walked out of my hotel room, and in the dead of night, I drove back to the zoo. It was located not too far from the hotel where I stayed, just a few blocks away. In the distance, I could see a long, high wall with a glimpse of a curved gate. It was dark, so I couldn't see clearly, but I was sure it was the gate with the words Empty Zoo engraved on it. I kept driving until I passed the gate and peeked inside to see if anyone was guarding it. It was a zoo. There should be a security guard or something. If he didn't let me pass, I should at least ask him something about the zoo. I looked through the gate into the area where the zoo should be. It was empty. No zoo, nothing. I shifted my gaze to the curved gate where Empty Zoo should have been. Blank. No text, nothing. What the hell? I parked my car abruptly and got out. As I got closer to the gate, I saw someone standing right behind it. He appeared to be smoking. "Excuse me, sir," I called out to him. "Yeah, what can I help you with?" he responded. He looked like a security guard. "The zoo. Where's the zoo?" I asked. His brows furrowed. "What zoo?" "A zoo! I was here this afternoon, just a few hours ago. No one was guarding the ticketing booth and the gate was open, so I took a walk inside. There were only monkeys in it, no other animals," I explained. The security guard looked stunned. "Sir, there was no zoo here. Never was," he said. I was about to complain, but something came to my mind. Maybe I took a wrong turn. "Oh, my bad. Where's the zoo then? Maybe I took a wrong turn," I said. "No zoo, sir. This town just celebrated its 42nd birthday last week, and we've never had a zoo in 42 years. "No way!" I shouted in shock. "But I was here. Just a few hours ago." "What time was it, if I may ask?" 4 p.m. "Sir, I work a double shift today. I've been here since 2 p.m. I didn't see anyone entering. Not you, not anyone." The security guard looked concerned. "Not sure if I should tell you this, sir," he said slowly and carefully. "But you're not the first one to ask about a zoo." "No?" "No, sir. I've been working here for 4 years. We've never had a zoo here, but over those 4 years, countless people have come here asking me about a zoo. When they ask about it, it's always their second time coming. The first time was hours earlier, as they trespassed the gate because no one was guarding it. They claimed there was a zoo here, with only monkeys in it." "Just like me," I said. "Yes, sir. Just like you." I froze. My blood ran cold. "I don't know what happened here, sir. It's strange and creepy for me, too, having experienced countless people coming, asking for exactly the same thing that was never here." The security guard paused for a while, seeming uncertain. "This place belonged to a billionaire entrepreneur. He tried selling or renting this place for years. I was a security guard and he didn't talk business with me, so I heard this weird thing from someone else." "I heard what?" "That he actually rented this place to a zoo. It has been 8 years now, but I repeat, never saw any zoo here." I shivered. Then something suddenly popped into my head. "Does he own another location this huge in another town?" I asked. I mean, he's a billionaire entrepreneur." The security guard seemed to hesitate. "As far as I'm concerned, sir, yes. He owns other locations just as huge in other towns. I don't know how many of them, really, but we guards talk to each other." He paused, seeming somehow terrified. "Guess what he rented those locations to?" "A zoo," I took a guess. "Yes, sir," he replied. "A zoo. All of them. He rented the locations to a zoo, the same zoo company on paper. What do you mean, on paper? I frowned. The guard glanced around nervously before leaning in. On paper, they were all rented to a zoo. In reality, the security guard turned his head around to look toward the empty lot inside the gate. They were all just like this. Empty. And that was I Think I Found My Missing Big Brother Cage in a Creepy Zoo by Paranoid Letters. That's a great name. That's a great name. So this story is super interesting. It's super interesting because just upon first glance of the title, I immediately thought, oh, okay, maybe his brother is like still human, but put in like a creepy zoo, which maybe is a human zoo, maybe it's an experimentation zoo, or maybe, I don't know, your mind can guess a couple of different ideas. I didn't immediately think of turning him into a creature, which is silly because, you know, obviously, Animorphs, you've got like all kinds of stories where people turn into animals of some kind or creatures and shit. So it's weird that never came into my mind. It's very, very surprising. Caught me off guard, and I really enjoyed that because it immediately makes me think of another story that we covered actually on this channel, which is Never Steal from a Mannequin. It's a great story, but basically the reason it's quite similar in that regard is simply because in Never Steal from a Mannequin, the Proud Tailor it's a store which can, you know, basically exist and not exist. It has the ability to no longer be in a location. It's one of those weird things like a shop that can move, right? Except not like move in a typical sense where like, oh no, they have a closing sale and they have to leave within like 6 months and shit. I'm talking like it's there 1 minute and gone the next type stuff. Similar with this, how the zoo can appear in certain areas, but it does disappear really quickly. It does happen in other movies and TV shows and books, of course, but that, you know, I love the trope. I've always liked it because it's mysterious. How can everything about a building just move so easily? It's great. It's so great and mysterious and creepy, and it always makes you wonder more and more and more, right? And so you have this billionaire entrepreneur who runs this empty zoo, hires people, turns them into monkeys for the zoo, but he's not there to have patrons. He's not there to have people come to the zoo and spend money, or at least not that we're aware of. Could it be like some weird rich person thing? Like, you know how there's always stories about rich cabals and everything, and they have bizarre parties and stuff, right? Is this one of those situations where the billionaire is only interested in having other rich people come to the zoo, maybe on specific private functions, and that's why nobody's really heard about it, and it doesn't always exist all the time? It's weird. It's just super, super weird, right? But then you think it'd be far more secure if that were the case, right? Because obviously, if you're going to be doing really weird shit, you don't want it to potentially be found by public people because obviously then it will go on blast. And I suppose the argument is that this doesn't go on blast, but there's still enough people. Who go through this and clearly find this zoo and even tell a security guard about it. It's just weird, right? Also, why wasn't the security guard there earlier? Even though he says he was. There's so many cool things about this because it just continues to make you think. And you gotta love that about a story, when it can keep making you ask questions and ask questions and ask questions. I love it. I'm really curious if there's going to be more about it because obviously I want to know. I'm sure a lot of us want to know. It's really interesting. It also makes me think of a couple of other things. Oh God, I had it in my head and I've already forgotten now. No. Oh, the turning people into. Oh no, my brain. Oh, it first made me think of Pinocchio weirdly, because you know the boys get turned into donkeys. Yeah. Through stupid acts, and obviously like it, but yet again they're still put on display, right? The other thing it made me think of was Jumanji, because the little boy gets not all the way turned into a monkey, but he's going through the transformation of becoming a monkey because of the game, right? So yeah, it's just funny that I'm sure there are other monkey transformation stories out there. In which case, let me know in the comments below what other monkey transformations it makes you think of. Or even other animals, for example. As long as it's a human transforming into an animal, I want to hear about it. Tell me about it. I'm sure there may be a couple other in my head. Like I said, I thought Animorphs as well, because that's a classic one. But that's also, you can change back, right? Yeah. Whereas this is just more dark and twisted and demented, right? They're being forced against their will to be in a zoo. You know what? It makes me wonder if the billionaire entrepreneur used to be a monkey. Oh my god. Is it Caesar from Planet of the Apes? Is he getting vengeance finally? Turning people into animals and putting them in a zoo? Now that would be a fucking cool twist. Wow. You can have that one for free. just give me some credit. say I'm gonna go alter some shit. That's funny. Anyway, I really enjoyed this. I sure hope you have too. This has been really fun. Comment down below your thoughts. Obviously, any other stories you could think of, that'd be great. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Shout out to these cool peeps. Seriously, we wouldn't have got this far without them. You're all amazing. I love you all so much. Honestly, it's tremendous work you do. Supporting the channel, keeping us afloat. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You too could become a cool peep for just $1 a month. What that's going to get you is 2 weeks early access to future videos. It's also going to get you exclusive members-only content. And there might be extra goodies coming along the way. What can I say? I'm just charitable like that. You can also show your support by tipping through either Super Chats, Super Thanks, both on YouTube, or through my Streamlabs.com URL, which will be in the description of future videos below. Cheers for now, guys.